introduce Dr. Anton Scheepers, is that right? Did I pronounce that
it's actually like school, Scheepers with a K.
Scheepers, Anton Scheepers.
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Perfect. And he's an oral, and here's another word, maxillofacial surgeon. Is that?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And president of the Apprentice Corporation. So he's trained in dentistry and maxillofacial surgery. Is the author of several international medical journals, publications, and presented many papers. And he served in military, hospital, private, and academic practice. And additionally, he's the founder and president of the Apprentice Corporation, established in 2002, which develops educational multimedia and kits. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I'll hand over to you now for your talk. We'll switch our videos off until we get to the end of the questions.
Lovely, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to really just present a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm really going to kick off straight away with sharing my screen with you. And here we go. So I'm a medical professional, and being in the surgical field, very much passionate about things like suturing and teaching surgical knot tying and suturing skills to students. So the question is it possible to teach medical and surgical skills on a virtual platform? I'm a South African maxillofacial and oral surgeon. South Africa is a beautiful country with many facets and many faces. The photo is of a cheetah, and the photo is with permission and compliments of my school friend Johan Greiling. The cheetah is the fastest land animal with a top speed of 113 kilometers per hour. That is, to my US colleagues, 70 miles per hour. It is a reminder of how fast the world is changing and the challenge presented to us to keep pace with the ever-changing world of technology. The old paradigm. I have a passion for teaching medical and surgical skills to aspiring medical professionals. I've conducted numerous physical and online courses to aspiring medical professionals. I've conducted not only physical in person, but of course also virtual programs. Workshops include teaching essential clinical examination skills like determining the blood pressure, heart and respiratory rate, body temperature, teaching basic aseptic techniques, and many more. More advanced workshops include surgical knot tying, suturing techniques, phlebotomy, and IV skills. I presumed that a physical workshop was the only feasible method for effectively transferring medical and surgical skills. The Apprentice Doctors Training Program focused mainly on transferring a variety of medical and surgical skills. For this purpose, we organized several physical programs as well as self-paced online learning. In the traditional in-person workshops to teach, for example, suturing skills, the maximum group size is around about 30 students, with preferably 2 to 3 instructors, and that gives us an instructor to student ratio of not more than 15 to 1, preferably 10 to 1. This size limitation is, of course, really not applicable to the virtual teaching platform. The photo on this screen here is of me teaching suturing skills at the Harry Perkins Research Institute to a group of students as part of the SciTech Aspiring Medical Professionals program in Perth in Australia. The suturing workshop, which I will focus on to a great extent in this presentation, consists of 2 parts: surgical knot tying, and secondly, suturing skills. I use a video projector showing several videos and then come the in-person demonstration of how to suture wounds. Note the distance between the eyes of the attendees, the students, and the small little needle and instruments that I have here in my hand. That is sort of like 1 to 2 meters. And I will come back to this distance later on in the presentation. The typical current perception is that one needs to do suturing skills training during a physical or in-person workshop. To transfer medical and surgical skills effectively, so we started asking critical questions. For instance, could this perception be false? For example, would it be possible to teach medical and surgical skills on a virtual platform? And how do we adjust or redesign the workshops to make surgical knot tying and suturing skills transfer possible? And then, of course, we all know things changed dramatically in 2020 as many in-person conferences and programs were cancelled. The lockdown regulations in 2020 brought many challenges as physical conferences had to be cancelled and were often replaced with a virtual program. We had to rethink how to offer students the best outcome on the virtual platform. So how do one teach, for instance, vitals, the examination of vital signs? Not the information, but the skills, and not virtually, but the real skills on a virtual platform. That's a mouthful, you know, but if I can just maybe give a comment here, you know, if you have a long laceration on your arm and you go to the ER and the doctor will tell you, you know, I've seen how to suture wounds. And, you know, I'm going to suture your wound now. I think, you know, one would be a bit hesitant. So you want to transfer not virtual skills, but real skills. The problem facing instructors and students alike during the lockdown restrictions in 2020 was, how do we teach medical and surgical skills on a virtual platform instead of the traditional in-person skills teaching method? We had to rethink our stale perceptions regarding the limitations of online skills workshops as physical conferences changed to virtual. In 2020 and 2021, I had the opportunity to teach several virtual medical and surgical skills workshops, offering students a viable alternative to in-person workshops for acquiring medical and surgical skills. In addition, I developed various methods to improve and optimize the skills transfer process from instructor to student using the virtual teaching platform. We opted for Zoom as the preferred application for the various virtual conferences and workshops, but many useful alternative applications are available, as you probably know. An essential part of the application is the need to share one screen while lecturing. Idealistically, students should participate in the video on mode with the microphone off. Questions at any time are welcome. And I felt the chat room best for this purpose. In our workshops, we combine the virtual platform with distance learning and online components. So I have to be clear here, it's not just virtual, there's an online and a distance learning component. This photo shows typically a student during a virtual suturing workshop. Students participating in the virtual workshop need the following. Number one, a proper work surface, a table or a bench, good high-speed internet access, suitable computer or laptop, good lighting, and the relevant Zoom link, of course. And so there are certain keys to successfully transfer these skills. So the first key to successful skills transfer is that each participating student must have a suture kit with all the instruments and items to perform various practical projects regarding surgical knot tying and suturing. The instructor will have the very same instruments and items to be used to teach these skills. Use a half red, half white shoelace to teach surgical knot tying, and a silicone pre-cut skin pad to teach the most common suturing techniques. Students must be aware of the warnings, and especially so regarding handling and discarding sharps. The Apprentice Doctor Compact Suture Kit is a suturing training kit and not intended for suturing wounds in a clinical setting. And that's more a regulatory note rather than a real note, as we really have proper surgical instruments here. There you can see a Mayo Hagar needle holder, suture cutting scissors, Adson's forceps, anatomical forceps, scalpel, and this is a little booklet with all the diagrams, with all the various suturing techniques. Shoelace, and we built a little bridgie with these two little bottle caps, ruler, and there's the skin pad over there. We also have other kits like the For Future Doctor kits. This kit is primarily intended for aspiring medical professionals, and you can see there a stethoscope, otoscope, sphygmomanometer, teller hammer, digital thermometer, examination light. This one can enlarge or magnify rather, and this is urinary test strips, etc. It offers over 50 practical projects, including basic medical examination skills like heart sounds, respiratory sounds, pupil light reflex, heart and respiratory rate, determining a person's blood pressure, body temperature, and many others. There's another kit. We haven't done any virtual training with this kit, but it's imminent. We are going to do it very soon. And this is to teach students how to draw blood and teach them IV skills. And yeah, this is actually a lovely kit. This is one of my favorite kits for training purposes. Another key from the student's perspective, and that relates to the screen size or the monitor size. For maximizing the learning experience, students should use a fair size monitor. Unfortunately, the average screen size of mobile phones is definitely not ideal for getting the most out of the workshop. Therefore, we recommend laptop size as a minimum. The students need a work surface like a desk to work at with good lighting. The internet connection speed should be sufficient for two-way video connection. The instructor key to successful skills transfer is to have the equivalent medical or surgical training kit with all the relevant instruments and items available. In this photo, you will see me teaching suturing skills using an Apprentice Doctor Compact Suture Kit. This is really a lovely apparatus. A couple of years ago, I used this overhead video camera to teach a large group of students suturing techniques in Tampa, Florida. This overhead camera has several great features like autofocus. It has a light, and the distance between the table and the camera is adjustable. It uses a simple USB connection. The image detail and the screen size are adjustable, ranging from 800 by 600 to HD. It is simple to use and brings the distance from the student's eyes to the demonstration area down from 1 to 2 meters. You remember one of the first slides. In the in-person workshop, to only a few inches or a few centimeters. So this is an optional, but a nice to have on the screen here. And this is just like a very simple external webcam. Ideally, a second person should use the webcam to take the occasional video when vision from a different angle is needed. It takes a bit of keeping one's mind together to hop from one screen share to the next, but of course it's possible. Keep in mind that one can either use pre-recorded videos or demonstrate the techniques live. I prefer to use a combination of pre-recorded videos and live demonstrations. The latter offers the instructor the ability to emphasize important steps, give technical tips, and verbalize the occasional warnings. Okay, so what's my experience with these programs. And the first one was the BEST, stands for Brain Expansion Scholastic Training, and that is medical skills training, well, actually a medical academy for high school students based in Tampa, Florida. 50 students attended this virtual program for aspiring medical professionals. The students' feedback was, this was a virtual program, so they really sat in front of the computer most of the day listening to lectures. So the feedback was mostly positive. However, on the negative side, they complained that there were too many lectures and too many continuous hours in front of the monitor or screen. This is the Future Doctors Academy. That was a hybrid virtual online distance learning program. The students had kits, and the typical program works more or less like this. So the yellow, that's virtual meetings with Zoom, for instance. The light blue, that's time in the morning, 3 morning sessions and the afternoon session, and students will work there at doing online work using their kits, and they use family and friends to do their examinations like the blood pressure and all the various things that they're going to do. And every day has got a theme of some sort, like Tuesday is cardiovascular, and Monday, the next Monday is surgery, and so forth. So how did they respond? We did give them the opportunity to give us a feedback of the program, what they thought about it. And here you can see it, of course, sorry about that. You can see the rating, and these are the various days. And the very last one is the total or the average. So 9 out of 16 students completed the feedback program evaluation form. The graph shows the student satisfaction rate over 6 days on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 bad, 10 perfect. So, you know, or very good. So we got amazing results here. So the worst day was an 8.4. That was the first day, of course. And the best day was day 6 with an average of an astonishing 9.8. The overall satisfaction was an amazing 9.1, which I think for a first program like this on a virtual platform was amazing. The Medipath experience. Medipath is a medical student organization primarily located in Sofia, Bulgaria. In October 2020, I had the opportunity or the privilege to give a surgical, knot tying and suturing skills workshop to 125 of these students on a virtual platform. And they responded as follows. So 87 of the 125 responded, and 32 gave us 10 out of 10, 29, 9 out of 10, 17, 8 out of 10, 7 gave us 7 out of 10. And then, of course, you have to have the 6 and the 5. One student thought it was worth 5 out of 10. And that just shows to everybody in the teaching profession, you cannot please them all. It's just not possible. There will be something wrong somewhere, and let's leave it at that. So how do we assess these students? And we use an online website, the Future Doctors Academy, and the Future Doctors Academy, give me a second, contains the various courses and the assessment modules. So generally assessment of the theory is by completing a multiple choice questionnaire. In addition, photos or videos are required to demonstrate the practical results and competency levels to the instructors or evaluators. I'm going to, for suturing, this is uploaded. Here is an example of the Apprentice Doctor Suturing Skills course. The student completed the course self-paced, including all the practical projects. The image shows the uploaded photo of the student's suturing techniques assignment. As you can see here, the continuous suture, not perfect, long bites on the bottom, short or smaller bites on the top, but generally good. These are mattress sutures over here, and he should have just tied them a little bit tighter because the wound is still open here. And here are the interrupted sutures, big bites at the bottom, minute bites at the top, the knots of the sutures right on the wound. It should be on intact skin. So not a good suturing for the interrupted sutures over here. This is, I haven't mentioned, but we also have a fracture reduction course and kit. And this student sent this in, uploaded this photo to the portal. And you can see his open reduction and internal fixation. And we can see that the fracture alignment is actually quite good. It's less than 5% deviation from the normal. The fracture step here is minute. Fracture gap here, also minute, is less than 1 millimeter. So we would say this is a good result. Very happy with this result. When it comes to dynamic skills like taking somebody's blood pressure, we believe a video would be a lot more appropriate, taken by a parent, teacher, or a friend to assess the technique rather than a static photo. So there's definitely some skills that really need a video rather than a static photo. Okay, so we are getting to the conclusion. Did I arrive at a conclusion? And the answer is yes. Although initially skeptical, the attendees' feedback and the assessment results demonstrated a surprisingly high level of student satisfaction and an excellent level of skills transfer. In addition, the Future Doctors Academy online assessment modules proved to be an outstanding tool to evaluate the relevant skills transfer. Thus, my preliminary conclusion is that it is possible to present medical and surgical skills transfer workshops on the virtual platform. I further believe that it is possible to offer workshops on the virtual platform that may be superior in some facets compared to in-person workshops. Combining virtual, online, and distance learning in a hybrid format, and that is key, you know, the kits that they have and the online work that they can do on their own, that's key to success. So it's really a combination, a hybrid of online, distance learning, and virtual programs. And I'm convinced using this combination that one can give a highly effective workshop and very good level of skills transfer. As you have seen on some of the examples. Yes, there's another photo of my good friend, Johan Greiling. You have a standing invitation to visit South Africa, and maybe you can join Johan for an unforgettable photography safari. That's what he does, and I can tell you that will be unforgettable. If you want to follow up on that, of course, you can contact me. And that brings me to the end of the presentation. Trust it made some sense to you. And yes, I believe, let me just see if we're in, we're in good time, I believe.
We are indeed, yes. So if anyone has any questions, if you can just type those into the chat. And just while we're waiting for people to think about that, I'm fascinated by that talk. That was really thought-provoking. I've worked as an instructional designer for many years, but I've not really seen such an inspiring virtual tactile training where they're actually having to use their hands. And I was going to ask you, in a lot of skills training, people talk about haptics and getting the feel. And is that something that, I mean, obviously the results were very impressive, but is that something your students were skeptical about at first because they couldn't sort of have someone put their hands on them and say harder, lighter, or something like that with the virtual method.
Yes, one would wonder if that student who gave me 5 out of 10 for the workshop probably had some objections and issues, and actually would be. I'm never offended by. It would actually be very a good idea to pursue the exact reasons why the one or the two students didn't enjoy the workshop. And I think it's like a lot of educational issues. There's not a cure-all for for some people. It's just like they need the physical workshop, and a virtual workshop will never really work for them. They want somebody really in face-to-face presence, and that's just the way they operate. But the majority of the 3 workshops that I've alluded to was purely due to we had to do it that way. We didn't have a choice. So that's sometimes the way to do something is when you simply haven't got a choice and you have to just proceed with what you have and make the best of it. And this is more or less how this came about. It wasn't necessarily so much strategy or it's like we really had to think fast. How are we going? Are we going to cancel these programs, or are we these physical programs, or are we going to convert them in worthwhile online virtual programs? And I have to say, I think we've succeeded on a higher level than I would have thought if you would have asked me before the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear from your talk that the photos and the actual kits, that it was very easy for you to assess how they performed after watching the demonstration. So it was clear that was actually a very effective method of showing them and then assessing their progress. That was really, really fascinating.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I appreciate your kind comment, and yeah, so that is more or less. So we're moving forward, and we're still learning. So this is just like, I would say, the beginning. We've opened up a monthly suturing workshop, just for students who buy our suturing kits. And so I think this is just like really a lot of room for growth, and a whole completely new area of education that's opening up.
Yeah, really, really interesting. Well, I can't see any further questions at the moment. So as we're coming to the end of our time, thank you so much for a really thought-provoking talk.
Lovely, I appreciate it, and I'm enjoying the program so far, and have a lovely rest of the afternoon and evening.
Thank you. Thank you.